And it's because the sewing machine sews loosely on the bottom. It sews loosely. It knots us. It leaves us a very ugly seam. And on top, it can sew us normal here. We see the same, and we see how it's leaving us very loose. It won't knot. Let's see, because there are several reasons why the stitching underneath ends up like this. So let's start first of all with the good threading. So then here we would have the spool. In the case of your machines, you should have the spool placed in this position, all fine here. And here, where the first tip or the first mistake that many people make is that here we're going to see the spring, and we can see it. What is the thread pulling spring of the household machine? Remember, the thread pulling spring helps maintain good thread tension as it pulls and tightens the thread during sewing. Let's not leave it loose. Let's not let the thread slacken. We can see the spring, and if we pull the thread, we see that the thread must go across the spring part. We see it must be threaded through this part, so the thread would go like this. It would be around here and would come up just as we're seeing there, or as the figure shows. This is the first step we must thread, and many people make the mistake of overlooking the spring. Tension helps us. We keep going down. Say it will keep going down. And we reach the tension. We're going to pull the thread. Here we have the thread. We need to pull it back, and we do a sustain and make the thread go through the tension discs. At this moment, we're going to see if it did stay because of the tension discs. Let's set the tension to the maximum, and we check if the thread is tightening. We see that it's not tightening. It comes out completely loose. This would be the second flaw that can give us loose stitching, and the most common. What happens most in many tailors is the discs. They don't close because they already have here, and they have fuss, they have dirt, and so the threads on the disc do not close. Then we see that it is not thinking. If we put it on 9 or we set it to 0, we see that its voltage will be exactly the same. Then we hold the thread and pass it through the tension discs and see that it went well. The thread is already coming out. If we increase the tension, we see that the thread is very tight. We reduce, we see that the thread comes out loose. This is the most common mistake. That's what happens the most, and what prevents the thread below from coming out completely loosely. Many people don't thread the tension discs, so if it comes out a bit loose below, if the tensor above is loose at the top, we need to adjust the bobbin case tension. Then we continue with the rest. Check the tension and see if it's tightening us. The thread, we increase the tension, and if it is not tensioning, it means that this part is fine. Then we continue threading, and we will. The part of the lever, it pulls thread. Here we have people who also do not know about the light from this lever, which is very important, as it is responsible for raising the thread to the side of the thread and making the stitch tense. We move the flywheel, and the moment we're threading, we click. This lever pulls threads, which we grab from the top and pass through the back, and it looks like a type of N, and it's already threaded through its regular hole, and we've moved on to the bottom part of the needle. Next we grab the thread, lower it, pass it through the needle holder thread guide, and leave the thread ready to thread the needle. The other tip we'll see is the correct tension or threading of the bobbin case. Let's take it out. Remove the lid, put it here, and we are going to take out the onion. Well, here we have it. Let's remember that this little button of this little screw, we tighten or loosen and adjust the thread tension. That is the thread output that we'll see in its moment. Here it can be fine. We can tighten it a bit. Since the correct tension is such that when holding the thread bobbin, it should stay like this. Make the correct tension. If we move the middle, it should drop a bit, and then secure it again. We can tighten it a little bit or leave it as is, which indicates that it is at a good tension. If we tighten the screw to add more tension, and the thread is still coming out totally loose, we must either buy the bobbin or repair the spring and screw. If this part of the spring is not tensioning the thread, no matter how much we tighten it, the thread keeps coming out very weak. It will also tangle the thread, since the top part is well threaded, good tension. But this thread won't lift us up, and will also tie a knot at the bottom. So it's important that this tension and the bobbin case are totally good. Another thing would be to insert the spool counterclockwise. Let's take a look. Many people put it in like that. We see that the threads exit from the top. It's the same movement. I mean, same direction of rotation. Now the coil or spool is coming out. The same. This makes the stitch or thread come out looser. Come out a bit. Without tension, the ideal would be insert it in reverse so that the thread, in no case should it loosen or lose tension. Let's see at this moment. The ideal is for the thread to move this way, which ensures it never slackens or goes in the opposite direction, always in its position with the same tension. At no time will the tension change, because it goes in the opposite direction of rotation. We can see that with these steps, all the IT systems we have to apply tension, and the stitch should end up just right. We place the material, and let's see how the tension is looking right. Material we cut. Here we are going to see how the stitch turned out. We can see it's totally different from the bottom part. Let's observe. Here we see this is the bottom part, which already changed a lot for us. Here we see some small bulbs that we are looking at. This, which we can add a bit more tension to. We go ahead and add a little more tension, and sew again. Here we are going to see the difference in stitching. Here we see the difference on this one, which is the second. The first one we tested was a bit loose, and now we see the one on this side, as it has ended up perfectly. All right, let's see. The difference is how it was. How about